Namaste. This week we are talking about emotional intelligence and emotional intelligence's role in Ayurveda, or Ayurveda's viewpoint on emotional intelligence and how they work together. When we talk about emotional intelligence, or EI, we're referring to the subtle yet incredibly powerful ability to perceive, to understand, to manage, and skillfully work with our emotions, and to work with our emotions and the emotions of others, and our emotions in relationship to others. Essentially, it is the foundation of effective communication. It's the foundation of empathy. It's the foundation of resilience, and ultimately self-awareness. One way I like to think of it is it's the language of the heart and the mind. It's really this form of intelligence that traditional psychology, traditional ways of thinking about things overlooks this importance. But it's essential. Emotional intelligence is absolutely essential to have a healthy, thriving relationship. It's essential to have work that's fulfilling. It's essential for personal resilience and our spiritual growth. In the mid-1990s, the psychologist Daniel Goleman really brought emotional intelligence into the mainstream. He had a profound book, Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than I. And in this, he illustrated five foundational components of what emotional intelligence is. These are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. So let's look at that a little bit. Self-awareness is essentially recognizing our own emotions and their impact. At its core, it's self-awareness, period, but recognizing it through our own emotions, deeply understanding our emotions. On another level, it's the clarity to notice our internal state. It's self-regulating, to notice whether we're anxious or we're angry or we're joyful or if we're content. It's an awareness, it's a noticing, self-awareness, and acknowledging how these different emotions really do shape our thoughts, our decision-making processes, and ultimately every interaction we have. People with high self-awareness understand that their emotions are triggers. Their emotional triggers, habits, and patterns create a foundation for our growth and transformation. There has to be an awareness in that. When we have awareness, then we can be self-regulated. That's the second foundational step, is self-regulation, which is managing or redirecting impulses or when we have a disruptive mood. Once we become aware of the emotions, we can learn how to manage them thoughtfully. But we have to be aware first. Self-regulation is the skill, whether it's inherent or developed, it's the skill to handle emotions with intelligence. It's the skill to handle emotions wisely rather than a reaction or impulsivity. It allows us to a large extent, to pause. And then we can consciously choose a response versus a reaction. And if we are having negative feelings, we can redirect them into a productive outcome. And then we can soothe our disruptive emotions, such as anxiety or fear or anger, with consciousness, with awareness, with empathy, compassion, love. We can think of self-regulation like the emotional muscle that we build through mindfulness practices and intentional living. It's like going to the heart gym, the emotion gym. From there, we have motivations, and motivations harness emotions to essentially pursue a goal with determination or persistence. Emotional intelligence also means using our emotions as inspiration or motivation. Motivation comes from an external source. Inspiration is an internal source. So emotional intelligence tells us that we can use our emotions to move us forward, to drive us forward, to harness our passions, our goals, our dreams, and even our frustrations. These can be fuel for the fire. They can be fuel for action and commitment to a higher purpose. People with a high EI, emotional intelligence, can channel their feelings in a constructive way that leads to success in the goals and meaningful success. What has purpose, what drives us to be even more creative. So motivation in this context, it's not merely an external reward like money or approval, which is what a lot of motivation does come from. It's an intrinsic drive inside us that's inspired or fueled by our own personal values, our own vision of what life can be, what we want our life to be. And that's a deep alignment with our purpose, with our dharma. Then comes the empathy. And that's when we understand our own emotions, then we can understand the emotions of others. I think perhaps one of the most profound elements of emotional intelligence, or just life in general, love in general, is empathy. What empathy really is our ability to genuinely understand and connect with another human being or another person's emotional experience. I personally believe that if we sit with any human being for 2 or 3 or 4 hours and really listen to them and look them in the eye and connect with them, our empathy expands for ourselves, for them, and for everyone else. What empathy does is it allows us to really step into another person's perspective and relate to their feelings and their perspective in an authentic way. We really show up. It's the root of compassion. That's the essence. And it nurtures our relationship. And in that, we, in ourselves and in others, create an emotional safety. And then from that, there's trust in our interactions. We trust ourselves enough, and then we can have enough intuition and enough courage and enough faith and enough strength in ourselves to be able to trust another human being. That leads us to being able to have good social skills. And what social skills do is allow us to manage relationships in a healthy way and potentially and hopefully inspire others and navigate all the social complexities we're faced with. It's an art. It's an art form. It's the skillful art form of relationship building, really. And people who cultivate these strong social skills use emotional understanding to navigate these interpersonal dynamics, as well as having effective tools for communication, conflict resolution, and from there, being an inspiration, being our own inspiration, but also being an inspiration to others. Another thing that these having good social skills or strong social skills enable us to do is build community. We can then lead with a sincerity and an integrity that people have trust in us. They have a safety in us. And that creates lasting connections that are founded on mutual respect and understanding. Why does all of this matter? Why does emotional intelligence matter? Imagine that there's a highly intelligent person who academically excels or professionally excels, but struggles in the relationship. And they are constantly, their life is a constant experience of anxiety and stress, or battling self-doubt or insecurity. This person may be so intellectually gifted, they may be genius, but when they lack the emotional intelligence, it can profoundly hinder or limit their personal happiness. And that's not an actual measure of success. On the other hand, if someone has emotional intelligence, what that does is forms a quiet strength that supports meaningful connections, that is supportive and creating resilience in challenging situations or challenging times. It's an authenticity in self-expression. And that inner landscape creates a sense of calmness and peace. What that does is allows us to effectively manage stress and the challenges of the world. I've never met a single person in this planet who's not challenged. And when we meet challenges with mindfulness, with compassion, with empathy, with both intelligence and emotional intelligence, we can rise to the challenge and gain immensely. And we all do well. We all do well when we all do well. Emotionally intelligent individuals understand that their emotions are these profound internal signals, and we can interpret, express, and work with those emotions, whether they're happy emotions or difficult emotions. But to manage stress and challenges, we need to work with those difficult emotions in a way that's useful. So we want to be able to have tools for anxiety, sadness, anger that are constructive and reduce our internal stress as well as the external conflicts. An external conflict is a reflection of an internal conflict. We're at conflict with ourselves. This allows us to then cultivate these meaningful relationships. Again, empathy and social skills help to build relationships based on authenticity as well as vulnerability, as well as understanding. And then that will also furthermore enable these deep emotional connections and mutual growth. we create a community where we're all growing together. And the foundation of EI, of emotional intelligence, involves being aware of those emotions, responses, and triggers in every moment. Then we can make a conscious choice. So it's not just about emotional health. It is about the foundation of our relationships to ourself, to our family, to our work, to our community, and to our spiritual lives. Without emotional intelligence, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle in relationships. We're going to struggle at work. We're going to struggle with our own self-esteem. So emotional intelligence empowers us to manage stress, to navigate these challenges, build these relationships, cultivate self-awareness. I know I've said this. It's foundational. We have to have the roots. To be able to do something about this, we have to understand this. That's why I'm saying it again. I just want you to understand what it is that we're talking about. Now I want to share the Ayurvedic viewpoint of this and how this works in an Ayurvedic context. Ayurveda and emotional intelligence are very closely aligned in the sense that the principles bring balance, self-awareness, and harmony that form this holistic approach to managing emotions in connection with body, mind, and consciousness. We want to grow in all of these. So there's a profound connection between the emotional intelligence, the modern way of looking at it, and Ayurveda. Ayurveda really deeply recognizes emotional intelligence. It's just articulated a little bit differently. Ayurveda views health holistically as an intricate balance between body, mind, and spirit, guided by self-awareness, guided by internal harmony, and the natural cycles of the day, of the month, of the year, of life. Emotions are not separate from the physical body. They're interwoven with the physical health, along with our mental clarity and our spiritual growth. Remember, we've talked about this in many episodes, the biology of belief, or the molecules of emotion. The body, mind, and spirit are one unified field. And when we have unprocessed emotions, they can manifest as a physical illness or a physical imbalance. But when our emotions are balanced, we express in a joyful way. It enhances our vitality, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Everything becomes aligned. And Ayurveda places immense importance on our mental health and emotional well-being as an integral part of overall health. It's not just about transcending out in hopes of some blissful world when we leave our last breath. It's about attaining peace here and now, today, in this moment itself. So according to Ayurveda, emotional intelligence is not a modern concept. It's an inherent part of Ayurveda's philosophy. It's an inherent part of Vedic philosophy, of yoga philosophy, of Jyotish, Vedic astrology. Ayurveda grounds this understanding through the concept of the doshas, the body constitutions, and the gunas, the qualities of the mind. Ayurveda recognizes so profoundly 5, 6, 7, 8,000 years ago. Ayurveda recognizes emotions as this powerful force that influences life. It's this massive interconnectedness. What Ayurveda looks at to determine how well we're doing, it looks at the Prakriti, the body's constitution, the individual's innate doshic balance. And that's vata, pitta, and kapha, and that's made up of the 5 elements. It looks at the vikruti, which is the imbalance, the current deviation from that natural state of equilibrium. And manas, the mind, the mental tendencies that are governed by the gunas. Remember, that's sattva, rajas, and tamas, a pure state, an active state, and an inertia state. And when we balance the doshas and cultivate the sattvic quality of the mind, we enhance our emotional intelligence and we align the inner and outer worlds. We align emotions with health and harmony. So looking at this from the perspective of Ayurveda's gunas, the 3 qualities of the mind that influence these patterns and responses. So we remember sattva is the quality of purity and internal harmony that's characterized by a clarity of mind, a balance in all interactions, and a compassionate wisdom that comes from a place of stillness, that comes from a place of experience. The emotional intelligence part of this is that one who is dwelling in the sattvic quality really demonstrates a high level of emotional intelligence and provides thoughtful responses to most situations. These people, we feel empathy oozing out of them. They're highly intuitive, and they have a natural spiritual nature. They have a spiritual inclination. They don't need to read scriptures or go to church. That's who they are. From the Rajasic perspective of the mind, that's activity, and when it's out of balance, restlessness, that gives us the quality of energy. It moves life. Without Rajas, there's no life, there's no movement, there's no passion, there's no inspiration, there's no ambition to do anything. But when it's out of balance, it becomes impatient and overactive, and it strives for too much. It strives for that external recognition. It's a false motivation. It's not motivated by inspiration. It's motivated by reward. And then it's ego-driven instead of heart-driven, consciousness-driven. So when we're predominantly governed by the Rajasic energy, we can be emotionally intense and driven, but it may not be balanced. We may struggle with impulsiveness, and that leads us to making hasty decisions that we often will regret later. It's really actually a lack of emotional regulation. It's driven by the ego, not by consciousness. And then tamas, it's the inertia state. It's also the darkness. And when it's balanced, that is, we need that tamas to sleep. We need a period of rest. We need winter to hibernate and get new inspiration. But more often than not in the world today, what we see is apathy. We see resistance, and suffering comes when we resist existence, when we resist what is, when we resist the natural flow. And when we have apathy or resistance, that leads to a lethargy, that leads to deep confusion. We lose our sense of purpose. We lose our sense of self. So people who are predominantly governed by this tamasic energy may really find it challenging to process emotions in a constructive way. And this very often leads to avoidance or denial. So what we want to do is cultivate emotional intelligence. And developing emotional intelligence through Ayurveda ultimately means cultivating that sattvic state, the state of clarity, calmness, and balance. And we gently transform the Rajasic and Tamasic qualities into this pure state of awareness. The ways we do that in Ayurveda is through meditation, is through time in nature, is through positive environments that enhance beauty, that enhance emotional balance, that enhance clarity, through times of stillness, disconnecting from the internet, disconnecting from scrolling, and taking time to breathe. It also means eating clean food. When we're eating toxic food filled with antibiotics and hormones and chemicals, that disrupts the gut microbiome. 93% of our neurohormones, neurotransmitters are produced in the gut. Our microbiome, where hundreds of millions of bacteria that are supposed to be there, that create equilibrium in our life, live, that space is thinner than a hair on our head. And so when we eat chemical-produced foods, it destroys that microbiome, so we can't produce proper neurohormones. We actually can't think clearly when we're not eating clean food. So Ayurveda recommends these lifestyle practices, dinacharya, these daily practices, in order to cultivate this emotional intelligence. So looking at dietary adjustments, finding out what your unique constitution is so you can eat the food that supports your body. It's like giving your car the right gasoline. You're not going to, if you know which gasoline the car gets, you're not going to give it the wrong gasoline. You don't have to repair the engine. So making dietary adjustments, the first and foremost, even if we don't know our constitution, is getting clean food. Having a meditation practice, which just means sitting and watching the mind. There's so many meditation techniques. There's infinite meditation techniques, really. But what it is watching the mind. You identify with the witness consciousness versus the fluctuations of the mind. So there may be thoughts. There will be thoughts. That's the nature of the mind. We watch them like the clouds in the sky. We don't judge them. We don't criticize them. We don't even evaluate them. We try not to hold on to them. We don't say this is a good cloud. This is a bad cloud. I prefer that cloud over that cloud. Let me hold on to this cloud. No. So we watch that. We watch our thoughts. That's really what a meditation practice is geared towards. Doing breathing techniques, pranayama, yogic breathing. When we breathe, everything changes. It helps us to self-regulate. In modern science, they have this polyvagal nerve theory. There's the vagus nerve. When we breathe, we regulate that vagus nerve, which governs most biological activities. It's called prana. We can do yoga practices, and we can go to yoga classes. We can learn how to do yoga for our unique constitution. There's herbal remedies. There's aromatherapy. There's seasonal routines. All these different ways Ayurveda offers us to help balance our emotions and cultivate this emotional intelligence. In the Ayurvedic context, emotional intelligence isn't just cognitive, it's embodied. It's an embodiment experience. It's in and through the body, not despite it. Ayurveda emphasizes tuning in and accepting and surrendering to and accepting the wisdom of our body. And that comes through aligning our daily habits with nature, through nurturing mindfulness, compassion, and self-care of all aspects of ourself. Ayurveda really does connect our emotional intelligence with dosha types as well, because each dosha exhibits unique emotional tendencies, strengths, and vulnerabilities. We're all human. We're all here together. We all have strengths and weaknesses. Understanding these patterns is crucial in cultivating emotional intelligence because it needs to be our practices, our life is tailored to us. We can only do us. We can't do someone else. Be ourself. Everyone else is taken. You must have heard that before. When we understand our own unique dosha, it gives us profound insight into our own emotional patterns and how we can facilitate greater empathy for ourselves. We can have greater self-regulation and greater self-compassion. Then it can be in the others. We can't truly love or be with another human being until we love ourselves and we can be with ourselves. Looking at the doshas, the vata dosha, the air and space element, the emotional characteristics or the emotional strengths is that vatas are so creative, they're so imaginative, and they have a flexibility about them, and they're adaptable. It's such a beautiful quality to have. On the other side, the challenge that vatas face when they're not in their strength, when they're not in their embodied power, is a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. Very, very difficult for a vata constitution to have come to proper decisions, especially in a timely manner. They're filled with indecision and restlessness. The grass is never going to be greener on either side of the hill. The wine is not going to be sweeter on either side of the hill. The grass is green. I actually don't drink wine. I don't know if it's sweet or not. But the vata is always thinking that one way is better than another, and it can't come to a proper decision. When a vata is balanced, the emotional intelligence of that constitution are people who are highly empathetic. They're highly imaginative, and they can adapt in any emotional scenario. But when it's out of balance, they're also going to overthink that scenario. They're going to struggle with their own self-regulation and feel overwhelmed by these fears and uncertainties. And Ayurveda does offer really cool strategies for vatas to self-regulate. Number one are these grounding practices. Eating warm food, warm, nurturing food. So simple. Having some warm root vegetable soup with some ghee in it, or if you're vegan, some coconut oil or avocado oil. And another one is applying this oil to the body, warm sesame oil to the body. So beautiful. But what a vata needs more than anything is routine. That stabilizes a vata's emotions. Eating at the same time each day as much as possible, going to sleep at the same time, waking up at the same time. These routines really help to balance a vata. And having a mindfulness practice really supports their clarity and reduces the tendency for overthinking. When we look at the pitta dosha, remember pitta is predominantly fire. The emotional characteristics of a pitta is that they're driven, they're filled with passion, and when really strong, they make good decisions, they make good leadership, they have good leadership skills, they're filled with decisiveness. Their challenge is quick to anger, very irritable, incredibly impatient, actually, and really competitive, and nothing wrong with competition. There can be healthy competition, but it's when it's driven by irritability, anger, ego-driven competitiveness, it becomes toxic. To balance a pitta's emotions, when a pitta is balanced, when their emotions are balanced, when they're actually embodying emotional intelligence, they're strong, they're motivated, they're self-disciplined. No one needs to tell them to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and meditate. They're going to do it on their own. And they have the ability to inspire others. When it's out of balance, again, it's this aggressive reaction, and they struggle with empathy. They struggle to be able to identify with anyone else other than themselves. They're super overly critical of themselves too, not just others, but if they're the boss, they're going to criticize everything. They're going to, with a microscope or a telescope, find every little thing wrong so they can be right. But they also do that to themselves. They're super overly critical of themselves. They're perfectionists. What a pitta needs is cooling practices. Pittas need coconut water. They need to do yin restorative yoga, not military style Ashtanga yoga. You got to soothe that pitta's fiery tendency down and encourage them to introspect, look within. What's the truth within? Inquire into the nature of the self. Inquire into the nature of our thoughts. Is this thought true? Is it really true? Is it helpful? Is it growthful? Is it harmonious to all beings? Really doing a lot of looking at oneself. And I think the best thing is to have a gratitude journal. The pitta looks at what they're grateful for and really writes it down or even speaks it out loud. It creates such a self-regulation. Then we can look at the Kapha dosha, which is the water and earth element. Their strength is that they're filled with patience and they're stable and they're nurturing and they're the ones who are filled with compassion. It's like a beautiful mother figure holding and loving and nurturing. The challenge is that they become super attached super quickly, and that can lead to codependency and, on a whole nother level, complacency and a resistance to change, even when they know they need to. And also withdrawing. It creates, when Kapha's out of balance, their challenge is emotional withdrawal when Kapha goes in excess. It can lead to things like depression. When a Kapha is emotionally, intelligently balanced, they will offer steadfast support. They demonstrate a real high emotional resilience because they're filled with empathy, compassion. They understand everyone's plight. They understand everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and they don't judge, they don't condemn, they don't blame, they don't criticize. When they're out of balance, they become emotionally stagnant and really overly dependent on other people to get things done. And really, they get prone to sadness, to depression, things like this. Kapha, water earth element, needs stimulating practices, brisk exercise. They need the Ashtanga yoga, the vigorous workout. They need to go to the gym and really sweat, go running. Uplifting, energizing music can help inspire that. And they do really great with light, spicy food to stimulate that digestive fire, not just the physical digestive fire, it's that emotional, mental digestive fire as well. And really, they just need some encouragement. They need active engagement, encouragement. Kaphas need a pitta or vata friend to come wake them up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning and go hike up the mountain or something. Go to the gym, go to the sauna. And Kaphas do really good when they have constant new experiences that really create an emotional dynamism. So all these different tools, Ayurveda provides these really amazing tools, these ancient practices to cultivate deep emotional intelligence, meditation and mindfulness. Meditation, even if it's a 5-minute, 10-minute practice, help regulate our emotions through the enhancement of our own self-awareness. And then when we're self-aware, our reactivity greatly reduces. I think a really great thing is doing focused meditation on the heart chakra. That creates empathy and emotional connection. If we're dealing with emotional intelligence, the center of the emotion is the heart. So we can meditate on the heart chakra. We can do breath work. There's different breath work for different constitutions, but pranayama or breath work for a vata constitution, doing the alternate nostril breathing is fantastic for calming an overactive mind. Pitta can do a cooling breath called shitali, and that cools the nervous system down, and it reduces our anger and frustration. For a Kapha, doing Kapalabhati or Bhastrika, breath of fire, or the skull shining breath. It's a very energizing breath that's designed to energize and uplift us. And it uplifts our emotional state. It gives great vitality to the body and to the lymph and to the brain and to the gut, but it just really energizes our emotions. It's beautiful. Ayurveda also offers herbal support. There's all these beautiful adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, reduces our stress and promotes that emotional stability. The Brahmi herb enhances our mental clarity. It's Brahma, it's consciousness. It enhances the mental clarity, and it really does support a balanced emotional response. And Tulsi, holy basil, is so sacred. It's the goddess Lakshmi. It's the goddess of abundance. Tulsi calms the mind and uplifts the spirit. It's such a wonderful herb, and it tastes so good. And likewise, dietary practices, following proper diet for each constitution. If you're a vata constitution, we want to focus on those warm grounding foods like soups, root vegetables. If you're pitta, you want to focus on cooling foods. If you're Kapha, you want to focus on lighter foods, spicy foods that energize and invigorate. Likewise, the Ayurvedic practices of abhyanga, of self-massage, these daily oil massages. I say this in many talks, but these are the foundations. They're applicable in all aspects of life. So you're going to hear this over and over again if you keep listening to these podcasts. But the oil massage for vata, warm sesame oil, grounding. Pitta does great with that cooling coconut oil for soothing. And kapha needs stimulation and vigoration. Traditionally in India, we use mustard seed oil. It smells kind of funny, but we use mustard seed oil. I think a kapha could also do pretty good with some sesame oil as well. Just doing a vigorating, warm massage there. Or dry skin brushing is also very good. Or herbal powders is very good for kapha. Regardless of the dosha, I think one of the greatest tools we can do is journaling, emotional journaling, writing down our emotions, writing down what our triggers are, what we're aware of our triggers, and write down when we're triggered without judgment, without criticize, without blame, without thinking you failed. Just reflect. Reflection builds awareness. It's very simple. So you can use a couple of journal prompts. One of them, this is great. What emotion did I experience today and how did I respond? Again, what emotion did I experience today and how did I respond? Just be honest. Just write down whatever your response was. You're not judging it. The journal prompt isn't telling you judge it, criticize it, evaluate. Just write it down. That's it. Then we can do self-reflection. What can I learn about myself from today's emotional experience? Again, what can I learn about myself from today's emotional experience? Now we can reflect. How can I grow? How can I learn? What were my triggers? What triggers was I aware of? What triggers wasn't I aware of? And how can I be more aware of them? That's it. It's an awareness exercise. Self-awareness leads to more self-awareness. And the only way we can do that is being aware of when we're not aware. It's a beautiful cycle, and there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no timeline for this. One of my most profound ways of working with my emotions and really trying to embody my emotions is being in nature. Spending time in natural environments, getting away from all the stimulation, the lights, the electromagnetic frequency, the social media, all of this. Nature balances our emotional energies. It doesn't matter what the setting is. You can be in the trees. You can be in the open desert space. You can be near a river or a lake or a waterfall. You can be in the mountains. Just be in nature. If you live near a city, at least find a park with some trees. Sit under the trees. Hug the trees. Walk barefoot in the grass unless the grass was sprayed with chemicals, because then you'll absorb them through your feet. We don't want to do that. We want to find nature that's not sprayed with chemicals from us. Finding a little bit of nature every day, even in New York. Actually, I enjoy going to New York. You have this place, Central Park. It's amazing. The trees there are beautiful. The grass, there's lakes, there's birds, there's animals, there's people playing music there. It's actually very exciting there. And it's also very calming. You can have both in the same place. Another of my favorite practices is doing yoga. I love all types of yoga, but yin yoga, to me, that's somatic release therapy. That's somatic experiencing. Yin yoga allows us to breathe and tune into our body and how it's truly feeling without judgment, in a compassionate witness state. And then we can, from that state, we can release the issues in our tissues. We can release built up unprocessed emotions that get stored in our body through yoga. Vatas really do best with a gentle grounding yoga practice, like a classical hatha yoga doing some sun salutations, or that yin yoga or restorative yoga. Likewise, pitta does better with a cooling yoga practice, a restorative yoga flow, some yin yoga, and kapha does better with that dynamic, energizing yoga vinyasa flows. Ashtanga yoga, Iyengar yoga, things like this. Another one of my favorite practices, I use it every single day of my life, is aromatherapy, essential oils. They harmonize our emotions. Blue lotus is harmonizing for all three, and it opens the pineal gland. It's literally one of my favorite plants and essential oils on the planet. Rose, jasmine, neroli, flowers are really good for pitta, cooling flowers. For vata, lavender, sandalwood to calm the mind down, or jadamansi, Indian spikenard. Kaphas do better with stimulating oils, eucalyptus, peppermints, things like this that open the pathways that are stimulating to the mind. And then lastly, before we conclude, to cultivate emotional intelligence, we really do need to have this through relationship and through communication. It doesn't work just sitting in a cave on your own, sitting in your room on your own, listening to this podcast. We have to go out and practice it. The Ayurvedic wisdom emphasizes to nourish and nurture relationships. It's a key component to developing emotional intelligence, and it's a key component to our emotional well-being. Part of that, or a major part of that, is active listening. We have to listen to other people. That enhances our emotional intelligence. Practicing gratitude in those interactions also enhances emotional intelligence. If you're sitting and talking to someone, thank them profoundly, sincerely from your heart for feeling safe to share with you and for providing you the space to share with them. It should be mutually uplifting. Ultimately, emotional intelligence isn't merely some skill to master. It is this profound journey inwards. It is the journey inwards, actually. It's about bringing conscious awareness to ourself. It's about bringing compassion to ourself and intentionality into our emotional lives. When we do this, we become deeply connected. We become deeply authentic, and we become integrated beings. Then, from that level of integration, we can live a genuine life of empathy, of resilience, and of harmony, of spiritual harmony. We're harmonizing our spirit. We're harmonizing who we truly are, which is a spiritual being. We have a human body, but we're spiritual beings. We don't need to be taught how to be spiritual. We actually just need to remove everything else that's not that's in the way. It's like we're sitting in a dark room and the sun is shining outside and we have the curtains closed. All we have to do is open the curtains. We just remove what's not self. From that place, the inner harmony, that inner sunshine radiates outward, and it transforms our life. It transforms our relationship. It transforms our work, our community in profoundly meaningful ways. When we cultivate this level of emotional intelligence, we don't just become better at handling life's ups and downs. We embody a deeper, richer experience of being alive. When we integrate Ayurveda with the concept of emotional intelligence, we become a powerful tool for life. We become a powerful tool for living an embodied life. We understand the interplay of the physical body, the mind, the emotions. And again, I just want to emphasize how profoundly Ayurveda provides these practical pathways to cultivate this deep state of self-awareness, deep state of emotional balance, and a meaningful life. So again, emotional intelligence is not just a fixed trait. It's a skill, it's a muscle, it's a path. And when we integrate it with Ayurveda, we become more than just someone managing our emotions. It becomes more than just managing our emotions. It is our spiritual practice. Our emotions are no longer obstacles. They're our teachers. And each emotion carries a massive weight. It's not a weight, it's an insight. It's an invitation to know ourselves so deeply, to love ourselves completely, and to live a conscious life. So it doesn't matter if you're a airy vata, you're a fiery pitta, or you're a grounded kapha. Emotional intelligence is part of who we are. And this Ayurvedic practices that we've illustrated offer this wisdom to help us return to balance over and over and over again. So take these tools and really try to empower yourself and embody them and incorporate them into our life and see what happens. There's a grace that happens. It's a profound change in our way of existence. Take a moment after this episode and really reflect on your dominant dosha type. Reflect on your emotional patterns and really try to question what one small Ayurvedic practice can you introduce today to bring you into more emotional regularity, more emotional clarity, more emotional balance and connection with yourself first, and then with your family, your work, your community. This is where the journey begins. It begins within. The journey of emotional intelligence, the journey that Ayurveda offers us, is one of continuous learning and self-discovery. And when we align ourselves with the wisdom of Ayurveda, we achieve not just emotional harmony, but a connection to ourself that we've never really experienced before. If you found this to be exciting, of value, if there's wisdom in it that you feel others can benefit from, share it. Please share it. Share it with your family, your friends, your community, and spread this love, this light, this path that the Vedic wisdom has offered us to everyone you know. And I also really invite you to share your experience, your wisdom, your light. Leave comments, share your experience of how this has played out throughout your life, where you've succeeded, where you've had profoundly difficult learning lessons. When you share your thoughts and your views and your experiences here, we can all grow together, and we create this beautiful circle of energy that expands love and light and compassion and empathy to the world. And we heal one person at a time, beginning with ourselves. I thank you profoundly for joining me today. And until the next time, may you walk in balance, may you walk in peace, may you fill your heart with love and express it in everything you do. Namaste.